All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Mr. Rent Your Own Homes podcast. My name is Dominic Danino, a.k.a. Mr. Rent Your Own Homes. And today I have a very special guest, a couple of friends of mine from the state of North Carolina. We have Josh Brooks and Jessica Quito, who are going to tell us a little bit about their journey into real estate and what they're currently doing now, and tell us their life story as how they met and kind of like joined into this journey together. So thank you for joining me today. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on.
How's it going on, Dominique?
Cool. Well, don't be shy, guys. It's just the conversation we're having. We're not doing it live, so we're gonna record and then kind of I'll share it with you guys that once it's all done. So tell us about yourselves. Tell us about your story. Tell us about your market. Tell us about what you're currently doing, and so forth.
All right, so we mostly fix and flip in Charlotte surrounding area, Charlotte, North Carolina, and we do a little wholesaling and other creative stuff that I've been doing for probably four and a half years now.
Cool. And Jessica, you've been doing it the same amount of time?
No, my journey is different. I actually started real estate a year and a half ago. My background, I'm actually from New York City. I moved down as well. But my background, I was a teacher. So I was in the DOE. I had met Josh when I was in my graduate program, and I was my friend's plus one to go to this real estate event, and that's how we met and became friends, and then became more than friends. But then after that, Josh was talking about his real estate, and that kind of got me into learning more about what real estate was, because I come from a first generation family, Hispanic family household, and nobody really talks about real estate. It's unknown. So that was something really, when I met him and he was teaching me about it and letting me know, that kind of opened up my mind more about hey, we're fixing up these houses. He's telling me, hey, he's solving people's problems. I don't know. I think I kind of, it was more, I don't know. It kind of inspired me what he was doing. Like, he was helping adults, but in the fact that, back home, I was helping children that had problems that, we were teaching. But that's how my real estate journey started.
Well, some adults are like children. That's so that comes in handy.
Oh my
God. All right, Josh, let's back up a little bit, right? So you and I met at a mastermind. Was it 2020? Right. So yeah. We've known each other for almost 4 years now.
That's right.
Now, but let's back up. How did you get into real estate? So I know we met in a mastermind, real estate investor mastermind. But how did you end up thinking, real estate? Because what was your background, or what did you go to school for? Did you work in another industry beforehand?
No, my dad had a construction business, so I worked there for a little while, and then the construction industry went down in 2008, so everybody's was super slow. So I had to find another job, and then I got into metal fabrication, and then I ended up reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, because I didn't want to be working for somebody else for the rest of my life, So that's kind of where I started Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I started getting hooked onto the flipping shows on HGTV.
That's right. Yeah, that's usually what gets people, right? Thinking, oh, that's so easy. 30 minutes and then I never lose money. Wow, I could do that too, right? So everybody that thinks they're handy, it thinks that's easy, and they make it look easy. And and Chip and Joanna and what was it, Tarek and what's her name? Christina, right? Yeah, they make it look easy. Everything looks, oh yeah, sure. Like they go over budget, but then the price, that the initial price, they just put it up and then they get that price, right? Yeah. That's how easy it is. So let's go back. So you had a background in construction. Did you?
Yeah. I worked for my dad for a little while in construction. So, but in 2008, I quit that because the markets and everything went down.
Sure. So, but at that point in time, you hadn't made a decision. Hey, I'm going to go in real estate because construction is dead. You had not, right? So,
no.
What was that transition like? How did you end up like, oh yeah, now it's time for real estate?
I got into the metal fabrication, and I was working there, and it just got so like it seemed like the same thing every day,
Got it. But was it a friend or like you were driving around? So, oh, this is a junky house over here that needs fixing up. I think I'm gonna go do this. What was the trigger?
I mean, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay. All right. So Rich Dad Poor Dad kind of opened your eyes to the possibilities, right? So a lot of people in the industry have read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's kind of like the passive income. But it's like, okay, but now I need money to buy properties. So how do I get that money? Because not everybody comes for money. Right. So not everyone says, hey, I got money to put down. You got to put the 20% down, and I'm just going to make it a rental and collect, rental income and have some cash flow each month. Right. But there's a gap that most people don't realize that there's there. And how do we overcome that challenge? If that's a situation where I don't have the money. So how do I get into real estate?
Yeah. I mean, there was probably maybe 3 years that I just went into like that rabbit hole of watching podcasts and all this stuff and anything I could get hands on. Yeah. And I was just
YouTube University, as
like
they say.
That's right. I still wasn't taking any action,
Right, because you were trying to figure out, okay, can I really do this? Or like, there's gaps missing, right? There's gaps missing. So even if you read the books, it's like, wait, what? And it's like, okay, that makes sense, but what about this and what about that, right?
So I mean, I guess my cousin moved in with me, and I started like driving for dollars, and I was going to start like wholesaling some, and then we like working on it after our other jobs, and then like we finally get something under contract, and we go to try to sell it, and we realize that we only have like 2 people to sell to.
His buyers.
So then we like, oh no, we're not gonna make any money. So we decide to flip it because I found somebody that would lend us some money, and I wanted to make more money on it, and my dad had a contractor background, so
got it.
Just kind of comes.
So that's funny that you talk about, right? And Jessica laughs, right? Because you have only 2 buyers on your buyers list. So you're going to be a wholesaler with 2 buyers on your buyers list, right? So these are the gaps that people don't realize. Like, oh yeah, UT University said be a wholesaler and knock on doors and sell postcards or call or whatever, right? But then there's these gaps, and you're like, okay, yeah, now I'm here. Like, what happens now? And I got a commitment to this buyer or to the seller, and I can't dispose this property, right? It's like I'm stuck with it, and then what do I do, right? So these are the gaps that people have, and that's why people join masterminds or coaching programs to kind of fill in those gaps from people that are already doing it or have done more than you have, and if you're the new person, and to fill in those gaps because you don't know what you don't know, right? So like you heard it, you read it, but it's like, but until you actually do it live and in real time with real people, it doesn't click until that point in time, right? So you found the property, got it on a contract. Your buyer, what happened with those 2 buyers? So they say, oh, they're lowballed you or what?
Yeah, I mean, they knew that we didn't know a lot, so they were like trying to pay us like maybe like $5,000 over what we had under contract, and it was just like, I wasn't going to take that for an answer. We were going to figure it out.
All right. So they were willing to give you only $5,000 for an assignment fee on a wholesale deal. You're like, there's a bigger spread in this property. Why don't I just fix it up myself?
Yes.
right? Because there's right. Okay, so that leads open to another challenge. So you start as a wholesaler, and you kind of back into being a flipper, right? Just by default, because like, hey, like why don't I just go ahead and do it? So now that creates a new challenge and a new learning curve, right? It's like, well, I know my parents, or you come from a construction background, but doing it yourself, and then okay, how do I get the money to take the property down?
Well, yeah. So I found somebody that lent me half the money, and I borrowed money from my 401k, and I maxed out a Lowe's credit card. So that's how I got the money.
Yep.
And the first one went really well. We ended up making like 50,000 on the very first one in like 3 months. So after that,
just like HGTV.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I mean, it's not always that easy, but after that.
Well, after that, you were hooked. It's like, oh my God, like where has this been all my life, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was more than I was doing my job.
Sure. I mean, it's 50,000. It's an annual income for some people. So definitely. So at that point in time, though, let's talk about some of the challenges you went through that experience. Like, who did you bounce that is like, okay, I'm stuck in, the plumbing is, I don't know, it's dated and we got to redo the plumbing. We got to knock down this wall, whatever. Who did you bounce that from? Like, who did you go to, or did you already know the answers?
I mean, back to my dad has been a general contractor, and he's retired now. So him and some other guys, they done a good bit of it, but me and my cousin still helped a lot with it. But he knew a good bit of all that, luckily. But I would say for people that don't know, find you a good contractor, or maybe bounce it off of a good agent that knows what's gonna sell. So you can
all right. So let's talk about that real quick, and then I'll go over to Jessica. So I want to dig a little bit deeper on her story. But so give the people a tip as to, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Find a contractor, but like, how do I know that they're good or not good? Or they're going to run away with my money? Like, what are the tips? What are the pro tips here for finding good contractors?
I mean, somebody that will work for a little money down, because I see a lot of contractors that want like new people in the business to give like a whole bunch of money down, and then they disappear on them. So that's a good thing. And then whatever contractors are at Lowe's or Home Depot in the morning, like first thing in the morning, because they're going to be on the job all the time.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, right? When we're working with contractors, like, oh yeah, they bid the job, it's $50K. It's like, give me half now.
Yeah,
I start the job, right? It's like, no, you don't never want to do that.
No.
So you give them half now, they may disappear on you, and now they're in control. They're working on. So that is the challenge of flipping is managing your contractors, because their agenda is different than yours, right? Yeah. They have multiple projects, and usually they're not very good at the money side, right? Otherwise, they'd be investors themselves.
Yes.
Right? But they're not good at the money side. They're good at the trade. And so what happens is they take your money to finish the last job, and then they take the next person's money to finish your job. So they're really not good at managing the money. So don't ever give big chunks of money to your contractors. And also, if you use a contract with your contractors, like
Yes.
How about that?
We use a contract, and we send them a scope of work of everything that needs to be done. They tell us how much it's going to cost, and we put in the contract a time frame for them, and then we also, if they beat the time frame, then we give them a bonus too when it gets done. So that gives them more incentive to get done faster instead of taking their time.
And it has a deadline too.
Yeah, and then they owe us if they don't get done on time.
Right. So the goal being there is to be aligned. Your goals and their goals should be aligned, right? Otherwise, it doesn't work very well. All right. No. So let me circle back with Jessica here. So Jessica, so you came from you were a teacher, and so I mean, when you heard about Josh doing real estate, or when you guys met and he's like, oh, what do you do? It's like, oh, I'm a flipper. And What did you think of that?
Okay.
Had you like watched HGTV before? Did you know about real estate investing before?
I don't think it's on Telemundo.
Stop.
Josh, tell you need to start watching HGTV.
Right.
It's crazy because when I met him, I literally thought it was a scam. Like I was like, I had no foundation of everything. I had, it mind blows me now after I think about it, that we met and everything about 3 years ago. But it is just mind blowing of the mentality I had back then. And when he was telling me about it, I was like, this is not real. They're doing something shady. I used to think that, I don't know why. And then when he like showed me and he was posting on social media and he was like, I'm doing this for this, I'm helping this lady in this situation, it kind of opened my eyes and it was like, what are you doing? And I came one time here over the summer, and before that I was coming as well when I had breaks with the kids, and I would just be helping him out with, maybe with the flowers on setting stuff out to make the house look nicer. And then he would just tell me, and he'll be talking to the contractors, and I'm just like, oh God, like I was like, this house is really nice. And then he shows me the before pictures, and I'm like, oh my God, like you see the before and after. And I was just like, I was like, this is really, really interesting. And I probably had seen some like renovations. I can't remember. I maybe was not really into it like that. Is there one that I can remember? No, but my stepfather, he is actually a contractor in New York City, so he works mostly in commercial. So I just knew that, maybe just that background in that. But aside of that, I really had no foundation in real estate. And when I met him, it's when my mind completely opened up about life and about real estate.
Sure. So I want to circle back. So you met Josh. Now you guys started dating. You like him, but then you thought he was doing something shady. So how do we kind of like? He's shady, but I like him, or what?
No. This is sorry about that. This is back when we met in Mexico in Cancun on the mastermind. I was with my friend, or plus one.
Oh, got it.
My friend Caroline. She was my co-teacher at that time, and I was a graduate student. So she took me, and she just told me, "Hey, we're gonna we're gonna be in this network. I'm part of this real estate," but she really never talked about what she did. So I was like unknown, and it seemed like a girls' trip more for me.
Yep.
And with her other friend that she brought along, so she didn't really explain to me, so I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that we were doing some networking, and that was something that I was not used to because I was always like indoors at home studying. Because like I said, I am the type of person that went from high school to college, got my undergrad, and then went to get my master's. So I was so school focused, and I wasn't really like worried about the outside. I was just in my computer, I guess. But circling back to what you were saying, with Josh, yeah, we met in Cancun. We were friends, and as he talked about his flipping business, he would tell me. And then once we started to date, he actually took me to one of the is it the mastermind? Mm-hmm. One of the mastermind that 7FF had in Chicago. And that's where everything changed for me and him. At the time we were dating already, but at that time he took me to that mastermind. It was my first time attending a mastermind and seeing all these real estate men doing all these different transactions that were flipping during commercial. And they were just talking about all the creative deals they've done and what they're doing. I was just mind blowing. I was like, this is real. I was like, people do like 20, 30, 40 houses a year, hundreds. And I was like, oh my God. Like Josh was just doing he was doing a couple houses, but when I saw the level what they were doing, it just kind of amazed me. And that's the event that Josh actually told me. He was like, do you want to join my business? Which is kind of weird because I was like,
so he was trying to hire an employee and ended up getting a girlfriend.
I think so. I feel like he put me at that spot, at that mastermind in the breakout rooms. And I think everybody knowing the fact that I had an education background and that I had the nurturing side of understanding people was going to help him in his business. But I was not, like, I don't think I ever thought that I was going to be ever involved in his business because, first of all, we were dating, but we were dating far distance. I lived in New York City. He lived in NC. So I really didn't know what to expect. We think about it, we're just like, whoa. But yeah, that was how I got into real estate from that mastermind. And I moved after 3 weeks at that summer vacation that I was over here in NC. I told my parents, hey, I am moving to do real estate. And everybody was like, you're crazy. That was funny because it was, I mean, I think about it now, it's funny, but back then I was probably, I was like, oh my God, I'm taking a leap of faith. You know, I'm leaving my education background to do something different and something that I want to learn because it's something that nobody in my family does. I come from a Hispanic family. Nobody knows how to do real estate. They're just like, how do you start? Like, do you need money? Do you need a lot of money? Everybody thinks you need so much money. And it's not. It's the lack of education that they don't have, that we strive that we don't have. And one of the most important things that Josh told me that summer that inspired me more was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. That book changed my life as well that summer.
Yeah, so it's just so you went to Cancun for the party and didn't realize you were gonna get sucked into real estate, huh? It's almost like a timeshare, right? They'll show you the free vacation and you get sucked into buying the timeshare.
Right.
That amazes me. I never thought that Cancun trip would be a life-changing experience for me.
That was during COVID too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was during COVID, and this is crazy. And we were supposed to be teaching online, so we were teaching from Cancun, and we were just like, oh my God, if we get caught, we're just like, but you know, everybody was doing it, so we were just like,
yeah, that's funny. That's funny. All right, let's transition over to like, so who do you guys help now? So I know Josh is doing flipping, right? But you guys are doing your own marketing and basically trying to acquire properties direct from seller, as we call it, right? Direct from seller, doing your own marketing. So you guys are doing cold calling, postcards. What are you guys doing as a marketing?
We're doing
PPL.
Paper lead.
Oh yeah, pay per click. Okay.
We're doing direct mail. We're also sending direct letters that we write to people that are in like foreclosures or tax foreclosures as well.
All types of foreclosures.
All types of foreclosures. That's right now what we're doing as per marketing. And I forgot, another thing we're doing is cold calling as well. We're cold calling these people that are in foreclosures as well.
So are you guys like doing both at the same time? Like sometimes you go to the flips, or you guys have kind of like divvied up the work basically. Josh, you handle the renovations, the flips, and Jessica, you're handling the marketing and the wholesaling, as we would call it, right? Josh, do you go out to houses too to meet sellers?
I usually do. So I usually do all the rehab stuff, but we actually go together right now on the sales appointments. But she is more the sales side and like doing our processes and systems.
Okay, so you're not a systems kind of person, right? You're more of a technical kind of hands-on kind of person.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like a win, you know. I knew needed some help. Like I was doing all right, but
Sure.
I was going to struggle bringing anybody in because I couldn't tell. I mean, I could tell them what to do, but I couldn't show them. Like,
No.
Yeah, so you say, and so that's interesting. Like when I meet new investors, I tell them it's like figure out what you like to do and what
Yeah.
you're good at, right? Because if you won't like doing cold calling, you don't like talking on the phone, then you got no business cold calling because it ain't gonna get done, right? And if you're a person that likes to be hands-on and you like to be, you're not gonna be an indoors person, but so, like Jessica's more like an indoors kind of person and systems and whatnot, right? So obviously she's not. You swing the hammer. You don't swing the hammer. No, she doesn't swing the hammer. No. All right. All right. So yeah. So if you're inclined, right, and this is one of the things that I want to talk about next is like, what's your genius zone, right? What is your genius zone? Like, okay, like me personally, right? I like the numbers. I like the deal structuring with my lending background. So understand the amortization tables, interest rates, and how to do creative deals as it relates to our rent to own program. But so I tell people it's like, because I did flips and I did tried the wholesaling thing. It just wasn't going to work for me, right? Because that's not going to houses with 200 cats in it. That's just like not my deal, right? But people that works, right? And it's your personality. So Jessica, you have a background in teacher, and we talked about, hey, dealing with children, something you got to deal with adults like children, and kind of having that personality to be able to help somebody. So your avatar or who you help is people that are in distress or you have a distress situation.
Yeah, that are in distress situations and need a solution. That they may be in a situation and they're trying to get out, and those are the people that we help out. That they don't want to go the traditional way. They don't want to have they don't want an agent. They don't want showings. They just want to sell a property, or they have a situation. It just depends on the situation the person's in. They could inherit a property. Maybe they didn't pay their mortgage and they have like their deposit on it. So it just depends. And all these people that we work with, we are just trying to help them out on the problems that they're having. And I feel like having that education background and just having so much patience for these people. There's a lot of patience that comes with this. You just can't just be like, oh, yeah, do it. You have to explain it to them, and you have to be like their mom, hold their hand through the whole process. And I have that thing where Josh is like, hey, you're more of the integrator. You do that. You're more of a people's person, because I think about every seller that comes to us. I think about my family members or something. There's somebody that I want to continue working with. Build a great relationship with everybody that we work with. And I don't know, I just like it. And it just, for me, it just mind blows me to just, I guess, to continue helping people that are in a situation that they probably, sometimes we get people that probably have asked for help, but we're the right people to help them. They've gone the wrong way or something. And they are put in a situation that, how do you say?
Just don't know what to do.
Yeah, so let me circle back a couple of things that you brought up too, right? So you're providing assistance to a situation that they don't feel like they can solve themselves, right? So I talk to a lot of agents and interview agents that are traditional, that are in the real estate process in the traditional way, and other people that don't understand some of these situations that would say, well, why don't they just get an agent?
Oh no.
Right? They assume that every house is sold just through an agent. Why wouldn't they use an agent? Or why isn't an agent work in these situations?
I feel like because everybody has had an experience with an agent or something. Some people, like, we get people that I don't want to work with them, or like, I don't know. They've had a lot of people that we come with maybe are just like, they've had bad experience, and I think Josh would be able more to answer that one.
Or they probably need to sell their house in 2 or 3 weeks. Like they can't list it with an agent in that time frame, or it needs a lot of work, and they don't have the money to fix it up. Are pretty good ones.
Yeah, so most people don't realize that even though there are agents that could sell a house, agents don't take on every house to put on the MLS, right? Agents want move-in ready properties.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the properties that you guys are dealing with are not move-in ready, right?
Yeah.
And an agent isn't going to go in there and clean it up and take out the cats and all that stuff, right? They're not doing that, right? Agents want to list move-in ready houses because buyers want move-in ready houses.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the traditional market, move-in ready houses that can be just listed and nobody really has to do. So, and then maybe if sometimes the agents say, oh, we need to, I don't know, paint the kitchen or maybe cosmetic minor stuff. But the houses that you guys are dealing with are houses that are not just minor cosmetic. They need a lot more work. There needs to be an investment of significant money. When I say significant, I think anything over 15K is significant for most people.
Yeah.
Right? It's a $5,000 paint job, okay, but some of these people that you guys are encountering don't have the money to be able to do that, to sell it on the retail market. So that's where you guys come in.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that they won't be able to get financing on the property through like regular style loans.
Right. Even if they cleaned it up, if they put it on the retail market, as agents know, when you put a property up on the MLS, right, a traditional buyer and their agent are probably going to have an inspection done, right? It's going to need an appraisal if they're going to get financing. So the property may not pass inspection. It may not pass the appraisal because of the condition that it's in. So somebody's got to do something, or otherwise this house can't get sold this way.
Yeah,
right?
They lose a lot like that. Sometimes you have to give credit back, if something comes out in inspections. So there's a lot in hand when you go that traditional way. And those people that are in those situations may not have the funds for that.
Right. The seller either doesn't have the funds or the condition is too much for them to kind of come up with the funds to make it retail ready. So, or they need a situation solved pretty quick. Let's say, talk about pre-foreclosure, or a life event happened and now they can't afford the house or the payment and they don't have the time. And generally when people are in that foreclosure process, they think somehow magically is going to get fixed, right? We assume is want to delay the pain, right? And then we wait, oh my God, the foreclosure, the courthouse is taking place tomorrow. I got to do something, right? They wait and wait. And so going to an agent isn't going to solve that problem because that agent, the typical transactions take at least 30 days or so.
I had, like you're talking about that, I had a seller that I was talking and she was in pre-foreclosure. She was in foreclosure. Her set was like 3 weeks, right? 3 weeks from the date. I had contacted her. She had gotten my direct letter. I had told her the options I had to solve her problem. And she, we were going to buy it cash and she was going to be able to walk away with the house she inherited from her husband. But after she didn't want to go that route at the end, and she ended up listing it with the agent, I think a week later. And then after that, she found out that the bank after it was listed, I think 2 weeks after, she had found out that the bank had bought it off her house and that she no longer owned it. And that's where it kind of got to upset me. What was, she ended up going with an agent. I could have solved her problem. She could have walked with $75,000 in her hand instead of losing everything. Yeah. And these are the people that we try to help and target. And sometimes you have to have so much patience and you have to educate them, because sometimes people won't explain that. Like sometimes I have nothing against agents, but sometimes agents won't explain, what the causes of is if you list it, if you don't get this buyer within the time frame, then what an investor could do with hard money quickly, and that you get it sold, then you have that problem gone within like days.
Yeah, so traditional agents, and this goes to my agent friends, is you've been taught to do a certain type of transaction, and we know real estate school doesn't teach a whole lot other than to pass the test. But your broker basically doesn't teach you some of these other strategies or these other things that happen in a situation, because again, they're used to, hey, move-in ready property, get a listing, get it sold, and then the brokers generally want to cover themselves because they're afraid to get sued for doing something wrong, right? That's the general perception. So for traditional agents, you haven't been skilled, not because it's your fault. You just haven't been skilled enough or to be able to handle these situations. So a lot of times agents shy away from them. And so that's where investors come in to kind of provide a different solution that's not part of the traditional real estate transaction world, right? I mean, there's still a sale and a closing that takes place, sure, title insurance and whatnot. But because investors have access to either capital or a lender that will lend to them to pay cash and close really quick, like 10 days or less, and buy it as is condition without having to go through the whole inspection process and go into negotiating back and forth. Oh yeah, you got to fix this, you got to fix that, right? That's the typical traditional sale way, right? But in this instance, you're solving a problem for somebody that doesn't have the time, or an agent may not take on that property because this is going to be a problem. It's never going to qualify for financing in the condition that it's in, right? And I can speak to this as a lender. When property's in this condition, right, it'll come up on an FHA appraisal, on conventional appraisal. It's going to be a C5 or a C6 condition on the appraisal, and that's not eligible for financing. That's just a standard underwriting guideline for lending. The property's in a certain condition, it does not qualify for financing. So somebody's got to do something, and if the seller doesn't have the means to get ahead and either borrow to fix it or have the money in the bank, right? And the reason they may not be able to borrow, that property isn't going to qualify for a home equity loan in the condition that it's in, because the home equity lender is also going to want an appraisal. They don't want to lend on a junky house they don't want junky houses. They want a house in good condition that has equity, right? So you got another problem. And some of these people, if they in default or they're going through the foreclosure process, well, their credit is ruined, right? So a lender isn't going to lend them money when they're in the process of foreclosure. They got late mortgage payments on their credit. So again, that's another challenge, right? So it's not, well, why don't they just get money? Well, no, because these people are in a situation that they can't be solved through the traditional way. You need a other way to solve the problem. And this is where investors come in, like you guys, to try to help. You touch on a couple of things, Jessica. It's like being patient and explaining these things, right? And having the experience that you have. Okay, we should see this before. We've gone through this before with another client before. So this is how we explain to them. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Like, we don't know if we're not in this industry. You try to explain this to some people, they're not going to get it the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, maybe even the fifth time, right? And then eventually over time, it's like, oh, they hear it differently as you explain to them multiple times. So you're probably having to tell them the same thing multiple times. Like,
yes.
Right?
It's a repetition.
Right. And some of it is like, hey, you got 10 days. You don't have a whole lot of time to stew over this, right? Because something is happening on the other end, and you're going to end up losing this property, right? And there isn't, some people say, it's like, oh, you're taking advantage. Well, nobody else is coming to save these people.
No.
Take the property, right? So you at least give them a different option. Say, hey, we'll buy your house. We'll give you cash now, some equity, and kind of maybe you start your life over, whatever reason, and you solve whatever that got you into this situation, right? It's like, okay, I got money in the bank. I could go rent a house or an apartment until I get my life on track, whether it's loss of a job or a life event, medical condition, or divorce or something along those lines.
Yeah, there's so much that when these people, like you said, if they're gonna hit foreclosure, they don't know what is the after effect of that. They don't know what happens. you can't buy a house in maybe up to 10 years. Your credit's messed
Somebody
up.
may not even rent to you because it's going to show up on your credit. Oh, right. So when you rent, do they pull your credit? The apartment companies pull your credit. If you're buying renting a house, the property management company checks your credit, right? So yeah, you have all these things. So at least if they have some money to walk away with, or in the pre-foreclosure situation, hey, let's stop the foreclosure, and you're saving them from a foreclosure showing up on their credit, and it's going to take them some time to get that cleaned up or let it age, typically 4 years for it to fall off, or for traditional lending to be eligible again.
Yeah, and it's just to be like, hey, we can save your problem, we can get that paid, and it's like your credit can be saved once this house, goes through. We pay that debt off. Like you can walk away with something and start fresh. I feel like it's just teaching people the causes of if they don't take action on what they have to do if they wait too long, what the effect can be on them. I think that's where it just lacks on, and people have to explain it to them. And sometimes they just get with the wrong people that don't really tell them what the guidelines are or what can happen after.
Yeah. And if they're not in the industry or real estate or lending or anything like that, right? So people go about their lives, don't realize the impact that has on them. Because if you can't get housing, where are you going to live, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's just the reality, right? So, we all need housing. We all need housing. All right, let's transition to, the question I usually like to ask people. I won't be asking you about your favorite books and all this other stuff that people ask generally in podcasts. But I am going to ask you tell me about a life or a business situation. What was the most creative thing you've done in business or in life? It doesn't have to be real estate. Josh?
I guess I'll talk about, we started a new program in our company. It's called Installment Program, and we're really excited about it. So now we have more options than just a cash offer. We can offer more money to the seller, and we're gonna put the property under contract and go through inspections, and then we'll have a close after title's clear and everything, and we go as like second position on the deed. So now we have we put a down payment on our property. So now we are on the deed, and we have or an interest in the property, so we can go and put money into it and fix it and resell it for the owner, and they never have to come back to the closing table, which is really pretty cool. And we can offer a lot more money that way than just our regular cash offer.
Okay, so basically so you're making installment payments to them as part of the purchase?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's going to be is there a period of time on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the contract. Whatever we agree on, and this is easily reversible. If something was to happen, we can just get them to get some documents notarized and we release it.
Yeah, so how the way it goes is that Josh would say for that one that we have, it's like a 90-day. We'll have 90 days to market the property. So we're going to do some light work on the property. And we'll be paying the seller a monthly payment for allowing us to hold it for the next 90 days to market it. And that gives them a benefit because we are able to give more for their house, but it's going to require them a little bit more time. But it would avoid all the headaches.
They don't have to worry about anything else.
Right. So you're willing to come into the property and invest your own money to pretty it up so it can get retail ready to get the most amount of money possible, right? Because if you put it out on the market in that condition, It's not going to get top dollar, as we say, right? So, but somebody's got to invest the money into it. And if the seller doesn't have it, you're willing to go ahead and come in with that money to do that. But obviously, you're investing, so you're buying the property. You want to have ownership in that, so that way the seller doesn't get amnesia when you fix up the property for them. They say, "Oh, well, never mind." You know, it's like,
Yeah.
right. So that's basically the concept.
It protects us at the end. That's why we have an equitable interest in the property.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people doing novations right now, and then they put money in it, and then they go to sell, and then the person that's like, "Oh, you're making this," and then they don't close on the property. This one's actually closed. We just wire them money whenever we sell it on the back end.
Yeah.
Or the title.
How about you, Jessica? You got something creative that you've done in real estate, life, business, anything?
The most creative thing I've done, I could say a lot of stuff I've done creatively, but I feel that the most creative thing probably is related to business-wise here, exactly, is creating a system and process through Google Drives about what exactly we need as a structure of a business, something that I'm not, that I was completely new to, and having these different types of folders of what I should be doing, what kind of paperwork, what a drive needs, that if he needs something, it's there. I feel like that's the most creative thing I've done for the business, because when I came in, for Joshua, he had nothing to rely on. I had to build my own script when I was cold calling people.
It wasn't that bad.
No, you didn't have. I had to begin from scratch, but I feel like that's the most creative thing I've done for the business, is just, build our drive, build the contracts, make sure everything looks organized. If we are having a wholesale, which one's a wholesale, which one's a flip, I'm just saying, create different types of folders where everything should belong. If we're skip tracing something, it belongs there. If we're, what else? I can't think about it. There's so many tabs that I have that I've created creatively into structure our business.
Yeah, so systematizing your business, right? Stuff that, like, we talked about Genius some, right? Probably Josh is that's not very systematized. So you come in and kind of straighten that out. It's like, oh my God, I got to clean this up. Like, what are we doing here, right? How do we track and stuff, right? So yeah, systematizing your business is a big aspect of it. And you guys bring two different skill sets, right? So having a team or people that do something well that you don't do well at. Most people don't realize it. They think they got to do everything themselves.
No, that's not. I feel like that's, having a team like Josh is so good at running his numbers, his rehab contractors. I'm more of a people person, solver. And that's where we go. He's more the visionary. I'm more of the integrator. He knows where we are. I integrate everything he's trying to do. And I feel like that's what makes a bundle deal for us, because we come together and collaborate, and we just help each other. Like, I know what he doesn't like, and he knows what I don't like. And that's how we help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it's a puzzle piece, right? You handle this part, I handle that part, and I'm good at this, and I'm not good at that, but you're good at that, and I'm not good at this, right? So that makes for a good partnership.
And being a couple as well, it's something that it's new as well. Like, we don't really see couples work together, and actually we spend the time together 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We work together, we live together. But doing real estate, I feel we have such a big passion for it. Like, we have to set boundaries for us when it comes to, like, after work, because if not, it'll go into our personal life. But I feel like this being
That's a whole other episode right there unto itself, right? So next time we have you on, we'll talk about the working with your partner and how the challenges that brings and the value that it brings too, right? There's some good aspects of it too. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I'll probably have you guys back on and kind of we'll talk about some of this stuff, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, because it's helpful to some people, right? So currently working with my siblings, right? So we all bring something different to the table, and they're partners in my business as well. And so we all have our own skill sets, and we kind of take that on, and knowing what you being okay with knowing what you're not good at.
yeah.
Because everybody's like, oh, I got to do everything myself. That's a big challenge when you start into industry or any business, your own business. It's like, okay, yeah, I know, accepting that I am not good at that thing, right? So, and finding somebody that is, and giving you that hand.
Do it right.
Yep. All right. Well, tell you want to share with everybody, how can they people get a hold of you guys if they have a property to sell that they need help with? They want to learn more about real estate investing. Maybe is there a way that they potentially could partner with you, or want to learn more about your projects where they can see the pictures of your befores and after? So you guys want to share your socials and contact information?
Yeah, our Facebook page is J&B Home Buyers, and then website jbhomebuyers.net. My phone number, if I can do that,
Yeah, sure.
929-327-9265. Email wise, me or Josh, Joshua Brooks612@gmail.com, and mine is jbhomebuyersjess@gmail.com. You can contact us and either or. Like I said, we're always together.
How about you guys on Instagram or TikTok?
I'm
any pictures of your project?
I'm on TikTok and Instagram. So Instagram would be Jess X, was it QX3? It's Instagram. And TikTok, I would have to look. I'm not really so active in TikTok like that. So,
But for the millennials.
Yeah, it's at Jess QX3. You can look at our videos, our seller's experience. I post a lot of stuff there. It's the same thing we have on Facebook. I just reposted it back on TikTok.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so and that's usually right. So you guys doing projects and whatnot in the situations, and maybe you have testimonials on there, and then your before and after pictures, right? You talked about like the first time you saw the before and after pictures. I think that's usually what gets people. Like people like seeing the project, or where, what it looked like before, how it ended up, right? We see it on HGTV, right? So that's what draws people in. So if you guys are posting some of that stuff on your social media or your website, that's good for people to see. And if they're interested, how they can get a hold of you guys to either work with you, or they have a property for sale, or just reach out and see how they can connect.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me today. Maybe I'll have you guys back on. We talked about like the relationships aspect. I think that's an interesting topic that we can kind of dive into maybe next time. All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining me in today's podcast. Again, my name is Dominic Danino, aka Mr. Rento and Homes. Until next time. Bye bye.
See ya.